Welcome to Your Funeral Music. Each week, we welcome a new guest to share the songs they want played at their funeral to help us, the living, contemplate our own mortality. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Vensky. What songs are on your funeral music playlist? You have one, don't you? You should consider coming on the air and sharing your tunes with us. You can learn more at yourfuneralmusic.com. Our guest this week, what's your name, sailor?
Jess. I'm Jess Mahoney.
Jess?
Jess. I'm not a sailor.
Not a sailor.
I swear like one.
Please,
I will do my best.
You are familiar with Carlin's bit. It's the same here.
But yeah, so the Carlin bit where he talks about, like, save the planet. No, the planet will be fine with or without us. Like, it's survived ice ages, and dinosaurs, and asteroids, and meteor, and all these crazy things. And we say save the planet. It's just going to shirk us one day. It'll be fine. Like, that's his whole bit. But it is probably the thing that shaped me the most. And my dad let me watch really inappropriate stand-up way too young. It was the 80s. Like, there wasn't a rule on these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember those 7 words you can't say on television. I probably saw it when I was like 6.
You're on the cusp of Capricorn and Aquarius.
Yes, but I don't like to think that I have any of those gross Capricorn tendencies. I'm pretty Aquarian through and through.
That is my point. That is my point. Okay. Awesome.
That was your point?
Yeah. You're on the cusp, but you're an Aquarian.
I'm also on the spectrum. Aren't we all?
Yeah, we are. Jess, will you introduce yourself?
I am a longtime friend of the Reverend Dr. Michael James Vensky. And I am passionate about my friends and family. I like to read. I like to watch television. And I like humoring the whims of my podcast hosting friend.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Will you share, just if the spirit moves you in the moment, will you share the kind of backstory with our audience of how we know each other?
Yeah, we met when we were 17 and 19 respectively. I'm a little older than you. I was an older woman, and you came into town to visit a friend for his birthday and ended up just staying. And we met, and we hit it off, and we have been friends for 21 years.
You called me the Reverend Doctor?
The Reverend Doctor.
What does that mean?
Well, at first you were just the doctor. We had a thing where anytime something was upsetting one of us, you would say it was experimental life medicine. And I could share anything with you, and it would cure me. So I called you the doctor. And then when my husband, Sean, and I decided to get married, I asked you to get ordained to perform the ceremony. And you've been marrying people ever since. So you officially became the Reverend Dr. Michael James Vensky, which is a great moniker.
And it's an honor to be your Reverend Doctor. It's just weird how things work out, because I didn't think as a 17-year-old bursting into your little house down on the hill that we would be friends, or that you would impact my life in such a way that now I have this torch that I carry for things that speak to my spirit.
Yeah, there's no way that you could have walked into the dollhouse, which is what we called the apartment that I lived at that point. It was like a old garage that was turned into a 2-story apartment, and you couldn't fit a real mattress up the stairs, so we slept on like futons and camping mattresses and stuff. But there's no way you could have walked in there and told me that this kid that I would meet, he and I would still be friends 21 years later. Like, I would not have, I would have been like, oh, this Ken introduced me to that kid. There's no way I'll still talk to him. And here we are.
Joke's on you. What prompted you to explore music for the end of life?
Um, yeah, probably ever since my cousin Linda passed. Her favorite song was, oh gosh, what is that song? Fishing in the Dark.
Oh yeah,
You know,
the Nitty Gritty
you
Dirt
and,
Band.
yeah, yeah. She loved to camp and lay out under the stars, and that was her favorite thing. And I remember we went to, I think it was the crematorium in West Duluth. Really pretty place. You walk in, and it's just blaring from the speakers.
Oh,
It's very like happy atmosphere. Like you walk in and it's just everybody's filing into the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and then they played it again when everyone was leaving, and it made everything just really sweet and fun, and it felt like Linda was there, enjoying herself. And so when you brought up the concept of this, that's really what I thought about. Was just that obviously they knew Linda so well, or she had probably given them wishes of some kind, and just that they got her. Even if she didn't say, "I want this played," it felt like that's what she would have wanted.
yeah. It was the easy choice. What Linda would want.
Yeah, what Linda would want. Oh, that's a great name for a book or something.
Do you have any thoughts on death or any fears about death?
Yeah, it's funny because I told Sean one day, I was like, I just think that I don't have more fears than everyone else. I'm just more open about them. And he laughed. It just stopped me right then. He's like, no, don't even try to romanticize that. You have more fears than most. And just shut me down. I was like, no, you have fears. Like some pretty irrational ones. I live with a lot of anxiety. And if I let my OCD get bad, fears can definitely overtake me. And death is definitely something that I try not to think about too much, because I have in the past thought about death too much. And I don't let myself think about things I know I'm going to obsess about. I've gotten very good about handling my OCD in that way. But yeah, I do have fears about death. I don't know exactly what they are, other than I just don't like the unknown, the not knowing. But nobody knows. And that's the great part about it, is I'm not alone in this. Like, nobody has the answer. That's why it's the only reason you could not get me in a cult. I think anybody under the right circumstances could fall into a cult. The one reason you could not get me in one is because you could never convince me that one person has all the answers. Because I know that nobody does. You could never convince me you had all the answers. Not ever. I don't care how sleep deprived you get me. I could never believe that one person or one being holds everything. It would never happen. I think I could run a cult. I don't think I could be in one. I'm not saying that's the best part of me, but I think I'd be a great cult leader.
You're leading with that?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, fair.
I've thought
Why
about it for a
not?
long time.
Oh boy.
I didn't say I wanted to. I just said I think I could
And
if I put out that effort.
for the record, a cult is just a gathering of people who share a similar belief or idea. A cult doesn't need to be bad. It doesn't need to be bad. Cults get a bad rap. Where are the good cults? You never hear about the good cults.
That's because most of them just no.
Maybe that's what the world needs, is a good cult of people to come
that
together.
is just called a commune. That is not a cult. That's a commune.
It's still a cult of... I'll look it up. Don't make me use this computer.
Don't make me compute.
It's on. It's connected. All right, let's keep this rolling around here. What are your fears about death? You said you have them.
It's just kind of a blanket fear of thinking about the end, I think. And either not being with Sean or not being here for Sean. That's really... Everything else be damned, that's it.
But um, no worries about any physical ailments, or
Um,
you're just thinking about your partner, either
yeah,
missing them
I
or.
I just don't let myself think that far ahead about anything. It's just not healthy for me. So I try not to do that.
How, leading up to this point, how has this process been if you don't like thinking about death?
Okay, I love list making. Love it. I told you I'm OCD. Um, and I don't let myself make a lot of lists anymore. I used to make a list every morning of like all the stuff I had to do.
Isn't that what you're
And
supposed to?
like
No, you're supposed to do it the night before. It,
that too.
that's what they say,
Right.
right?
But I don't do that anymore.
How did you overcome your addiction to list making?
Well,
Sorry, I shouldn't be glib about this. It's
no, it's
people
okay.
suffer with this.
Yeah, no,
I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. I, I don't know how I did it. Medication helped, that's for sure. But just stopped carrying pens. And then, I have a notepad on my phone. So if it's really important and I want to make, like, I have to put something down. But also, I started trusting myself because the list thing was like there was something in the back of my mind. I'd convinced myself that you need this fail safe, that I'm not going to remember to do that thing. You have to write it down, or what will happen? Well, I know that I have to do this thing today. I already knew I had the thing. I don't need to write it down. That's, like I already have the alarm set. I don't need an extra thing on my phone telling me to check it off later. You know what I mean? Like, so I just started having a little more faith in myself about certain things. Like, I don't have to write that down. I don't have to write down that I need to scrub the sink today. I'm going to do that anyways. I don't need a list for it. That came with time.
Did it take a long time?
Yes. Yes. I have been obsessed with always, always having, like Sarah, my very good friends, Sarah and Emily, we get together once a year and have a girls' trip. And we needed a pen, and they both turned to me, just assuming I would have like 12 of them in my bag because that was my thing. I always had so many pens. It's like, I never knew when I needed to write down a poem or a note, or like what would happen if I didn't have a pen. The world would end. And now you could tip every purse I own upside down right now, and there's not a single pen in them. And so they were shocked that I didn't have this pen because when I was 20, I mean, my whole bag would have been full of pens because I was so paranoid.
Okay, big question for you. What happens after we die?
I don't know. What would I give me a second. There has to be something else. There is something because I've seen ghosts. I've experienced ghost-like activity. So there is something other or something after. I just don't know what that looks like. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no religious belief system. I have no sky daddy.
What?
I don't have a sky daddy. I don't have a supreme being that I believe lives in the sky that tells me what to do. I don't have any of that.
Tells you what to do. This sounds kind of like some of those internet chat rooms I wandered into as a child. Sky Daddy telling me what to do. What?
Yeah,
Sky
no.
Daddy 81.
Sky daddy. No, yeah, no,
ASL.
I don't. I'm not. religious. I was told I could believe whatever I wanted when I was a kid. My mom told me I could support any religion I wanted. So I looked into a bunch of it. Like when I was 6, I got really into it. I started researching religion, and I decided that I didn't.
When you were 6, you were a religion researcher.
Yes.
Did you go to the library?
Yes, but and I also went to different churches. Like I went to Catholic church with my best friend's family, and I like talked to. I think there was like a local Jewish community. I talked to one of the guys there because my mom said I could do whatever I wanted.
Now, when you say you talked to one of the guys there, is this just some random Jew, or did you talk
Yeah, it was
to
just
the
like one of the local
rabbi?
guys. I don't know that he was a rabbi, but he was like one of the guys at the church or temple or whatever.
The temple.
Yeah.
So you went to 2 places.
Well, no, I read like
This this is not an inquisition. This is interesting though that at 6 years old you were.
well, I thought it was I was obsessed with the news and the Gulf War. And I thought that maybe like religion would have some sort of answer for that at age 6, and I realized right away it didn't. In fact, I got asked to never return to Sunday school with my best friend
How old were you?
when they asked me not to come back.
Yes,
I was 6.
year 6. Little girl, please don't come back to Sunday school because.
Because they made the teacher question her faith and cry.
Oh no.
I was 6. I asked her if she'd never heard of a parable before.
Oh, that's you're coming out of the gate swinging. Parables?
Well, I was like, I just like raised my hand, and I was like, so you believe this? I don't even remember what story it was, like Jesus walking on water, something very like regular, and they're talking to the kids, and I was like, excuse me, lady, this woman teaching Sunday school, she was probably like 22, 23 years old. To me, she's an adult, but
Yeah.
she was a kid.
Yeah.
And this 6-year-old who's never been raised in religion, never been to Sunday school, goes with her best friend, and it just instantly is looking around like, you're telling children this? Like, you know that that's not possible, right? Like, you believe, just as bad as like, you believe this? Have you never heard of a fable? Like, just, and this poor woman, I just remember afterward her taking me up to Christy, which was my best friend's mother, which she was my first other mom, you know,
Yeah.
that other person you think of as like your second mom. She was my first second mom. And I
How
just
many how many first second moms you got in your life?
How many second moms? I've had a few. Emily's mom, Kelly, took me in my 20s when, you know, because my family lived far away and it was just me up here at that point. Sarah's mom, Terry, when we were in high school. Christy, which my best, I have a lot of aunts and stuff that also kind of second mom
Yeah.
type thing. But yeah, I've had like 3 second moms, if you will. But Christy was the first and the best. But I just remember this like 20-year-old walking up to Christy and being like, we just think it would be less distracting if Jess went to morning services with you and not to Sunday school with Ashley. And like right away I was like, I'm too much for the Catholic Church.
You are of the belief that you came out into the world. You arrived in the world more formed than not.
Yeah, I've just always known who I was. The core of Jess, not that I haven't grown through life or, you know, changed in some way, but the core of me, the core of Jess at 6, at 16, at 26, at 40, pretty much the same. I have always known who I was, and I didn't really have to question that in any way. I've just always known who I was, and I was okay with that. Like, I'm very self-accepting. But because I've lived with things, I also have a very clear picture of who I am, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I know the worst parts of myself pretty intimately, and I'm also very open about them. And I think that that gives you a more rounded view of yourself than most people ever get. Because as we walk through life, I see that most people do not have an accurate portrait of themselves in their mind. Like, they don't look at the things that they're not comfortable with. And if you don't look at them, then you don't really know who you are. Like, my sister was over one day, and she was talking about, well, you know me, and, you know, just being so giving and everything. And I was like, oh, that's how you see yourself. It is, as the older sister, you know, and by all means, I'm sure she's very giving to other people. But, you know, you just like, oh, that's how you see yourself. That is not how I see you. Do you have a clear picture of yourself? Am I the one that has a bias? You know, I think some people don't have a clear view of themselves. Yes, my sister and I have issues.
You know, it sounds like anything involving family and being alive is, or even after, because a lot of people in their families, after they lose someone, it brings out the worst in people, or it can bring out the best.
In my experience, though,
I've seen it both ways.
I've only ever seen the worst. And I know it's my family, and, you know, mental health issues run in my family. So whenever all of us get together, it's a very stressful situation. On any family it would be, but when you have mental health issues, it escalates things. And so it's always stressful. And I feel like I've seen some truly atrocious behavior just caused by grief at things that, you know, wouldn't have happened under any other circumstances if you weren't grieving.
Yeah, grief, it has a true impact on the mind on top of any kind of mental illness.
You know what, as I get older, what my body does is it shuts down. My grandmother died right at the start of COVID, like right before COVID. Like right at the end of 2019, she passed. So before we even knew COVID was a thing, she had passed. And I couldn't cry. I couldn't feel anything for 2 months. I don't know what that was.
Is Grandma here with us?
No,
I mean,
I think it was the door. The humidity popped the door.
oh, I remember this is the grandma I met.
Yeah.
I remember dancing with your grandma.
She's something. But I had never had my body just, like, I had no highs, I had no lows. I was just like nothing. I was even keel on everything. So it was like my body was just like protecting myself. It's like, you don't need to feel things right now. And that's kind of how, like, and it was weird. It's like I wanted to grieve. I didn't want to feel numb. But like now, more often than not, grief numbs me. And that was not the case when I was younger. So it must be some sort of trauma response, I would imagine, but
I don't have any degrees that I
know,
can use to
I had
give.
never not had access to my own emotions before, and it's so weird that grief can do that your body just can take over and say, you know what, you can't handle this right now.
Yeah.
So you're not going to.
How do you want to be remembered?
Kindly. Yeah, I want people to think of Jess positively, hopefully. I hope they blush a little. I hope I leave some blushes behind. But yeah, I'd like to be remembered as funny, loving, and kind. Probably in that order. If you tell me I'm funny or witty in any way, it's the straight to my heart. Or maybe my ego. Either way, it's feeding something.
That's to say nothing about your uh, outspoken nature or your activism.
But I think that comes with being loving. Because I care. That all falls into the same thing. I also, it's all, I care because I'm kind. It all wraps in together. Like the things I care about, that I'm passionate about, I put effort into.
So really the number one thing that you want to be remembered for is being loving.
Yeah. But also I think it's really important to come at life from a perspective of kindness. It is.
What do you mean come at life?
So and this is something very personal to me. I used to use the truth like a weapon. Just because it's true, I could say it this way. It's true. Why do you have a problem with that? I was using the truth in a cruel manner, and that's not really fair, because you can share the truth kindly. You can. There is a way to do that. And I understand that's not always possible. Like, sometimes situations are just crappy and there's just no way to sugarcoat something. And I'm not saying sugarcoat things, but I think there is a way to tell somebody the truth with kindness, like with consideration in your heart when you say that thing, especially if you know it's something that's going to impact somebody or hurt them in some way. Err on the side of caution and kindness. It goes such a long way, and it makes the truth easier to accept. You don't reject it right away because it's coming from an offensive perspective or a person. I used to be called abrasive so much, and I've really tried to pair that as I've gotten older, and that's not an easy thing to do because my claws were very sharp when I was a young kitten. And I really took time to file them down over the years.
How did that change come for you? Because it sounds like you started one way and you were using the truth as a weapon.
Not
or
intentionally.
defensively.
Yeah. It was definitely subconsciously. My intention was not to hurt people, but that was often the outcome. It is always people's favorite thing about me and their least favorite thing about me is my honest nature, my frankness. But yeah, like when someone says you're brutally honest, they're like, I always loved that. Like, oh, like, yes, like I'm so brutally honest. No, brutality is a terrible thing. Like, you're hurting somebody just to make yourself feel superior. And then, so I guess it was just age and also being in a long-term loving relationship. Like, Sean was definitely
Your husband.
yes, my husband Sean was my litmus test, because I would say things in such a way, and he'd be like, why would you say that like that to me? Like why, like there's nobody to talk to me that way. And it really realized, and he'd be like, why are you yelling? And I'd be like, I'm not yelling. Of course I was yelling, because in my family, I come from such a big family, to be heard, you felt like you had to yell, you had to get one up on somebody or something. And
Are you the oldest?
no, sometimes it depended. I have an older half sister who did not live with us. She was with us every other weekend. So I was the oldest most of the time. And then 2 weekends out of the month, I was the middle daughter. So it's different. When you have a blended family, those hierarchies are a little different,
Yeah. The dynamics change.
Yeah. So I wasn't. I'm an older sister. I have a lot of younger siblings, but I'm not the oldest. Candy is 2 years older than me.
So the change in you attribute that largely to your husband Sean in pointing out
Yeah, and
your
living
pointed
together all these
words.
years, him just letting me know, like, you don't have to communicate that way. Like, you can, like, we love each other. You can talk to me.
We love each other.
Yeah, like,
You
why,
recognize me, right?
why are you screaming? And it's just like, that's how, and I was like, I don't have to do that. It's just like the relief from your shoulder when you realize, like,
At
oh,
this
I
point
can
in your
take a step
marriage,
back.
how
Like,
many years had you been married, or how long had you been together when he made this observation and shared it
oh,
with
I
you?
mean, slowly right away from the beginning, just like little things. Growing up, my mom's favorite saying was anytime someone would say, I love you more, was what the other person would
Mm,
say. And Sean had a problem with
it's a
that.
competition.
Right. It's like,
He has such a pure heart.
he was like, you don't love me more. We love each other the same. Like, it's the same love. You know, like, why would you, you know? So that became something that I stopped to. I still do it with my mom. It's my mom.
Yeah.
It's our thing. But with him, I was like, he's right. That is so beautiful. Like, there's no need. It's not a competition. Our love is just our love. I don't love him more or less than yesterday or the day
Yeah.
before. Or so yeah, I was just getting his perspective on things that made me take a step back and just kind of look at, oh, I don't have to come at things that way to get the same result. And that just comes with time and life experience and the rocks being tumbled around.
All right, I'm dying to get started because the first song it threw me for a loop, and I'm not here to comment on anyone's song choices. They're the guest's song of the each week we choose a new guest.
I knew you would feel that way.
Yeah.
I had a friend who had never heard of this song, and I played it for her last week, and she's like, because the way it starts out, like with the "Hello, baby," it's if you don't see it coming, it can catch you off guard.
Uh, in terms of your end of life,
Yes.
your end of life, what kind of ceremony do you envision, and where is this song? Where is the song played?
I don't know. Maybe beforehand when people are kind of milling about, maybe the song you just put on for the heck of it.
Would this be the song that, because the first, like you said, that first kind of drop in there is so shocking if you're not ready for it? Do you think that could be something like, like before dinner on fancy cruise ships like the Titanic, they would have a trumpet call and
That's my trumpet call.
yeah, or like the show starting.
Yeah, it's time to come sit down with Jess. Yeah, maybe that is it must be what we play as people come in and file it and sit down. Yeah.
All right. I know it sounds like we've started. We haven't even started yet. Are you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm excited. This is your funeral music, Jess. Thank you for joining us. We are starting our evening together with Chantilly lace. Chantilly lace? Am I pronouncing that?
Chantilly lace.
Chantilly. We're starting our evening together with Chantilly lace, a handmade bobbin lace named after the city of Chantilly, France, and an August 1958 chart-topping song from the Big Bopper himself, who tragically died 5 months after the release of this song in a plane crash in Clear Lake, Iowa, famously taking the lives of fellow musicians Buddy Holly and Richie Valens.
The day the music died.
the day the music died. The song Chantilly Lace, it reached number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100 and spent 22 weeks on the national top 40. It was the third most played song of 1958. Okay, break it down for us, Jess. Why are we starting our evening with a song about fabric?
It was not about fabric.
Oh,
When I was a little girl, my dad would sing this song when we were out and about because I always had my hair pulled back in a ponytail. And when it would get to the part, so he would walk up behind me and start singing, a ponytail hanging down, and he would tug on my ponytail, or like long neck goose, and he'd, pinch my neck or something. It was just our song. I loved the movie Cocktail, which came out in the late 80s, early 90s with Tom Cruise and Elizabeth Shue.
Cocktails and Dreams.
There is a scene where they play Chantilly Lace, like he's like walking down the street. It's right before he goes into the nightclub business with his partner. And I loved it. And so that's why after watching the movie, my dad started singing it to me, and it just was like our thing.
It's so random that you mentioned that movie Cocktail. I happen to really like that movie. I think it's a great movie,
I've always loved that movie.
but it isn't universally loved.
No, or known for that matter. Like a lot of people have just never seen it.
I might have to watch that soon. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Does it hold up?
I think so.
It's universal,
It's been a while
timeless.
since I've seen it, but yeah, it's Moni, not Monet. Like that was her whole thing about her last name.
Okay. It's been too long. I don't know Shu's character's last name in that. Is that you're talking about?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not talking about Chantilly lace. No, sorry. Not the fabric.
Well, it is.
I forgot that I wrote that joke. Why are we starting our evening with a song about fabric? Forgot I wrote that
Just play the song.
previous joke. And this is from the Big Bopper. So it's just about your dad.
It just makes me think of being little and playing with my dad and him tugging on my pony. And I think if you're gonna start music about my life, that is a good place to start, is me and my dad.
Jess, thank you so much for being here. We've known each other a long time, and your list, some of this list is surprising to me. Some of it is not so surprising. This next song, it comes from Joni Mitchell, and as a newcomer to the show, both you and her, and I'm glad that you're here, with her cut off 1969's Clouds. Now, she wrote this song before that, but this is where it appeared publicly. We're talking about this song, Both Sides Now, one of Joni Mitchell's best-known songs, I guess.
It is. Yeah, it was her first or second big hit. I think maybe Big Yellow Taxi might have been first. But yeah, this was... People were blown away that a 16-year-old could write a song about both sides of love. What could she possibly know? But she'd lived so much life by then already.
Rolling Stone, they rank this song at number 170 of its list of 500 greatest songs in 2004. How did Joni Mitchell come into your life?
I have always been in love with music from the 60s. But Joni, especially as I've gotten older, has just spoke to me on such a very personal level. I fell in love with her when, in the early 2000s when Love Actually came out. She re-released both sides now. And I think she's in her 60s at that point. And to hear the difference between the original and when she redoes it is just, you can feel the life, like the years in her voice. You know, you can just feel the life experience in every breath. And you know that, like, she means every word. But I feel like Joni always means every word. Like, she's somebody that really makes you feel. But yeah, I fell in love with that version of the song right after the movie came out. But she's always been special to me. My favorite album of all time, top 3 for sure, Joni Mitchell Blue. From start to finish, that is my summertime happy place. I will just like put that on and sit on the back deck and sing along horribly. Unfortunately for the neighbors, but I love it.
And is this just a song for you about your love of Joni Mitchell?
Yeah, but it's also a song about having lived life and looking at things from a different perspective and still finding the beauty in them. You know, like, I have looked at love from both sides now. To look at something from the other side was really pretty.
Do you think, or is it open to interpretation of what that means?
Oh,
or
absolutely.
what does it mean to you?
Yeah, just having that growth. It's about growth. It's about thinking that you knew everything and then turning around and realizing, oh, back then I knew nothing. You know, but it was still beautiful. You know, like your perspective changes. And yeah, no, that song is just about life. It's about living life and reflecting and looking back. That's what that song is about.
Does that tie into kind of what you were sharing previously about love and speaking the truth in kindness, being softer?
Yeah. And I think Joni's a really good example of that. Musically, personally, like, just looking at the struggles of life and still coming at it from a kinder perspective.
You got through them.
Yeah. And I don't like to look back and glorify struggle. Like, we do that too much in this country. Everywhere, but particularly this country. But I think it is important to look back and see the beauty and change.
So then at your celebration of life or
Yeah.
a ceremony of some kind, that's what you want people to, or that's one of the things that you want, or you hope people take away when they hear this song is about change?
Yeah, it's about a life well lived.
Well, that's on you. So,
Well,
can't hold your guests to
yeah, no, but it's
your actions.
Okay, it's about reflecting
Yeah.
on what I hope is a life well lived.
But not a message for your guests.
They can take.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they can take whatever message they want from it.
No, I know that they will, but is the song for you or for them? I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
This one's for me. I think Joni will always just be for me.
Oh.
I mean, not anyone can love Joni, but I mean, when I listen to Joni, it's for me.
Like she's singing for you.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. Our guest of the week is Jess. Thank you for joining us. I'm Michael Vensky. As always, thanks for coming along.
Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, you're one of my oldest and dearest friends, so it's really fascinating to walk through this list with you.
Pick
Because life
pick
is
apart my
unpredictable.
life a bit.
Well, yeah, pick it apart, explore it, look around, and check out the wares. But it's nice to be here with you and thinking thinking on your life and doing it with you. So thanks. All right, our next song of the evening is "Long Day" by Matchbox 20. We're picking things up with this. Uh, Now, this was the first single and second track from Matchbox 20's 1996 debut album, Yourself or Someone Like You. Walk us through this song, please, Jess. When did you discover it, and how did you know that you wanted this to be played at your funeral?
So this album came out, well, it got big for me in 98. I moved from Illinois to Minnesota between 8th and ninth grade. And I just,
Eighth and ninth grade, those are formative years.
yeah,
From Illinois
yeah,
to Minnesota.
correct. I went from just north of Chicago from the Chicago burbs to Proctor, Minnesota. So I went from,
That
for,
doesn't sound like a
for
fun
example,
place.
I went from a junior high that had 800 kids to a high school where my graduating class was 200. It was not something that I was fond of. I was pretty unhappy with the move, with the
big
timing,
transition.
yeah,
Huge transition.
yeah. I wanted to start high school with all my friends. Instead, I moved to this backwoods town where I didn't know anybody. That's what it felt like to me at the time.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably still a pretty good description.
When you say backwards, what do you mean?
Backwoods.
Oh,
Yeah,
backwoods.
like to me,
it's
it
in
was.
the woods?
It felt like it to me. It's not really. I mean, there are wooded areas and whatnot, but it's a very small town. And it was just vastly different cultural experience. My hometown was predominantly Hispanic, and then to move to Proctor, Minnesota, where there were all white kids, it was a culture shock for sure. Which I guess puts me in a pretty unique perspective as a white person to
Yeah.
say that, like, it was odd for me to not be the minority,
Yeah.
but it kind of was, you know? Yeah, it was jarring. And Matchbox 20, like, that CD was so important to me. And then I met my best friend, Sarah. She was the first, like, real good friend that I made once I moved to Minnesota. And we loved this album and we would play it. And then the first boy that I had a crush on in high school, he and I would drive around listening to this album. And one night, my older sister had graduated. She's 2 years older than me, and we had a grad party for her. And my crush came to the grad party, and he sang this song to me. Yeah, he sang "Long Day" because he knew it was my favorite, and it was like low blow. You knew that, like, that would just tear my heart apart. But yeah, no, this song, it's a great song. It's a great album. This is also on my top 3 albums of all time. Yourself or Someone Like You, start to finish. This, like, if you want a snapshot of Jess as a teen, it is this album. It is this song.
Long Day. This is the teen. This is a snapshot of you as a teen.
Yeah.
So what lyrics then are in the song that speak to that? Not to put you on the spot. Sorry.
It's me. I can't get myself to go away. Oh God, I shouldn't feel this way now. As a teen, you feel like stuck with yourself a little bit, you know, like, oh God, like, this is me. Like, especially as you're coming into puberty and your personality and, you know, hormones and all these things. Like, yeah, no, those lines are really poignant. But also it's about reaching down in the depths of yourself after a really long, hard day, you know, like taking a look in the mirror. And I really like that. It's powerful.
Did you know that right away when you heard the song, or did that come to you later in life through some learned or lived experience?
No, I feel like that hit me right away, but I already had a lot of learned life experience at that point.
Because at 6, you were a religious scholar.
Well, I wanted to know why people were so into it. And
What was your main takeaway? What was the conclusion of your analysis?
that most people aren't very intelligent. That was the take on my That's what I got out of it. Because I knew that I wasn't interested. I was fine having my weekends to myself. Like, I was okay with that. And the more that I spoke with people in religion and the way that I saw them react to me as an outsider, even at 6, I was little, but I was also very precocious, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, difficult.
Yeah. When a child speaks to you like they're your peer, it's off-putting. Adults don't love that. And that's who I was. I was a little adult, or I thought I was, and that's how I spoke to people. I had very firm opinions about things. Like, I told you I was obsessed with the Gulf War at 6, and that's what got me into looking into religion, because I knew that the Gulf War was about religion in some way, right? So I started looking into religion, and we were not religious. We were not raised religious, which I later learned was because my grandmother got divorced in the late 1950s, and she was Polish Catholic. And if you're divorced, you're excommunicated, you're exiled from the community. So she never looked back, never talked about religion, didn't raise her kids in religion, even though I think in her heart she still considered herself a Catholic.
Do you make a distinction between being or religion, being spiritual, being faithful?
I do. Yeah. Okay. The older I get, the more that I think that all organized religion is mental illness. I know that's a firm opinion to take on a podcast.
You said
I said
it was
organized.
such care, though.
I know.
I can
That's
hear
because I don't
husband's
really want to
guidance.
hurt anybody. But that's how I feel. I can't make those leaps for myself, and so I don't understand how anybody else can. Like,
Faith is
is a leap for me. Yeah, I
why?
don't. I believe that things are bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. As beyond that, yeah, nobody has the answer. I don't believe anybody does, and everything else is just guesswork and campfire stories.
But you don't inherently just feel it and in you.
No.
Do you love your husband?
Oh, I love my husband.
Do you love your father?
I do.
Do you love your friends?
I have lots of love. I just can't extend that to, I guess, what some would call a higher power. I don't. That's not how my faith works. That's not how my spirituality works. I guess.
Isn't love though that higher power? Aren't they the same?
Yeah, for me, I guess it is. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yes, in that sense.
I win again.
You always do.
Mm-hmm.
Goulet. No.
So I grew up in the church, and my grandparents were very religious, and for the most part, I would say it was a celebration of, not to get too religious, but the prophet Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That's where maybe you've heard of
I've heard
him.
I've heard of him.
A man who existed. And there are many stories about this man, but the main one is speaks to love and acceptance being kind of the same thing, tolerance being kind of the same thing, and that was something I could get behind. Like, all right, the organism, the church that serves, and the text are in sometimes opposition to that prophet, that man's message, and that is bothersome to me.
I've always had the belief that nothing good comes from people in one building all believing the same thing. Like, I think sometimes, like,
that's interesting.
The crowd mentality, you know.
Well, there is that.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when people who are passionate about one specific thing get together, and they insulate themselves like that, I feel like
from
nothing,
criticism or from
maybe from criticism or outside thoughts, perspectives. I just feel like nothing good is bred from that environment. And that's, again, that's not just religion, that goes to any crowd mentality. Like any thing that, any group of zealots of any kind that get together.
Thanks for taking the time and giving the space to have these conversations that aren't something we talk about every day.
Yeah, they're not necessarily, like, you really have to think sometimes, because it's not something that maybe you've thought about, like, especially when you ask me, like, what is it about? Like we're just talking about organized religion. And I think it really does come back to when I was, like, the criticism I got at 6 to the questions I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a lot of that has to do with tone, which I've worked on over the
You
years.
have.
I've really worked on.
You really have. And I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And anyone who has known you over these past, many, many years of your life, they are also proud of you and feel less fearful of pointing things out sometimes that are
Yeah.
fact-based, not fact-based. You're just a passionate
I
person.
was known to be sharp-tongued, that is for sure.
Do you think it started right away, or what was the period of sharpest tongue? Was it your teenage years? Is this next song the period of your life in which you were...
Yeah. Probably 14 to 20 was probably my sharpest years.
I'm glad I got in there right at the tail end to
Yeah.
really know sassy you.
Really, I would say after around 26, when I started working, when I went into the healthcare field or health insurance field.
I really thought you were going to say the donut industry.
No,
Sorry.
that is
Totally
not what
different.
sharpened me. I started looking at, like, once you're working in an office with people, you really just can't go around offending every person you talk to. So you have to think about your approach to people a little bit more than I ever had before. Because when I was working at the House of Donuts, which was a little donut shop here in Duluth, Minnesota, that does not exist anymore, but is long beloved in the memories of citizens of the hillside. It was like a little institution where college kids would go to get late night.
Anyone could go.
Cheap treats, anybody, but late night is usually the college kids. And then
Or
I went to the Boys and Girls Club, where I could just talk with kids, just like back and forth. And I didn't really have to think about what I said, because I wasn't going to say like anything weird or inappropriate to a kid,
Yeah.
But then once I was in an office environment with other adults, it was a much different. I had to think about, I can't just say that sarcastic thing that popped in my head. I have to give more thought. I also started asking myself on a regular basis, because it used to be that anything that provoked me, I would just, if it's true, I can say it. So I'm going to say it, right? I'm going to spit it out. But then I started asking myself, is this worth it, right? Is this worth my effort? If I say this thing, does it help anything? So I would just say, is it worth it? And just asking myself that one question before I spoke, a lot of times I'd be like, it's not worth it. There was still plenty of times where it was worth it for me. But the older I get, the less it's worth it to say those knee-jerk things that they still live in me. I just don't share them.
And so then when you hear this song, do you kind of think back with fond memories to your former self? Or is it hard to hear this song?
No, there are fond memories there for sure. Like, I think of me and Sarah sitting around listening to this, or I think of Jay and I in his car, cruising around Superior. That's where he lived at the time. And, they're good memories. But it also is a poignant song, though. So, like, it's twofold. It works in a celebration of life or funeral environment, but it also is just a snapshot of teenage me, the things I was interested in, which was Rob Thomas.
Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. This next song is a new one for the program. Coming off the fourth studio album in 2011 from English punk and folk singer-songwriter Frank Turner, Glory Hallelujah closes that album. The song features this common refrain, "There is no God." And Mr. Turner says the atheist nature of the song was inspired by playing so many Christian songs on stage and wanting to have an alternative argument. I find that very, very interesting. What about you, Jess? Does this song speak to your faith? We were talking a little bit about
Yes,
that.
for several reasons. He talks in the song about if we accept that there is an end, then in the here and now, we can try to do things right. So it's kind of about taking your faith out of the question and living for the betterment of those around. Like just realizing that we're all in this together, right? This world that we are in, society is a social contract of agreed upon behavior, that we're going to live life a certain way together. And that's kind of what this song is about. It's take your religion out of it. I feel like so often I'm just being strangled by somebody else's religion, like that it has to, if that's what shapes your beliefs, that's fine, but why do you have to lead with that? Why can't you say I believe this? Why does it have to be my religion says? I don't, because right away that takes me out of it, because I can't understand that, right? So with Glory Hallelujah, I love it for a few reasons, not just because it talks about people being in it together and that should just be enough, but because it sounds like a church song. It's rebellious in that way. Like it sounds like a song of worship, but it's a song about not worshiping, if you will.
Okay. So then
I would love, I don't know what my celebration of life would really look like, but I would kind of like it to be done in an actual church, and I want them to play this song.
that's pretty bold of you.
I'm not saying it would happen or that they would allow it. I'm just saying the young impish Jess would get a big kick out of that. That is for sure.
Oh yeah, I can see it.
Yeah,
And I can see it happening, and I can see the
like all of my elderly like aunts or something would just be
so
rolling in their graves.
Regardless of your lack of faith,
Yeah.
you would want to have a funeral in a church.
Just to see people clutching their pearls over playing this song, yes. I'm not saying that that's really what I would want. I'm just saying there's a part of me that kind of wishes that would happen.
So this kind of speaks to your rebellious nature as a younger person, and even now,
Yeah.
40?
I'm 40 years old.
40 years of wisdom and lived experience here on this mortal coil, and you want to stick it to the organized religion with this song. Is there anything more that speaks to your nature, or is this song it?
This is why it's so good to have this conversation after I've listened to the song freshly, because I have to like go through the lyrics in my head.
That was your homework. You gave me this list. I did mine.
I know. Yeah, no, just like I was saying, it is really about just having fun in the moment and not worrying about what comes next.
Yeah, well, that's what the moment is. Not next, now.
Right.
It's now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of silly to play a song at your funeral that is about not thinking about your funeral, but that's kind of what this is.
Is not thinking about it because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because that isn't that in the song as well?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like ring the bell, rejoice, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Once it's done.
Okay. You want to give this a listen?
Let's do it.
Do you want to introduce the song? Do you want to say what it is, who it's by?
This is Frank Turner, who is a delightful British artist who I happen to think is like the best lyricist of our generation. I really do stand by that. Listen to a lot of his music and tell me that you disagree.
So that's why you have 2 tracks tonight from Frank Turner.
Yes, he is very special to my husband and I. He's the person we've seen live the most. I think I've seen him like 12 times now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Have you met him?
No, we like passed him, like shaking hands at the end of a show or something, but I didn't get like introduced or anything.
What about as you passed him? Could you...
He's just a regular dude, man.
Just like us, regular people.
Yeah, but he is the most traveled. Like he just did 15 shows or no, it was 24 shows in 24 hours. And then before that, it was like so many shows in a month in the States. Like he's constantly touring in the States. He's always over here touring. And he has a running tally of his shows. So he starts each show with the number the show is of that tour of his career. So he has like this is show 10,200, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He like tells you, which is pretty cool.
For the record, this is show 205. Tonight on Your Funeral Music, our guest of the week, Jess, brings us another first for our program tonight. Our next song is written by Jess's husband and comes from his band, the Trash Cats, Duluth's premier acoustic cat rock duo. The song is called Jessica Marie and tells a story. Well, it tells a beautiful story. And I'm just so happy that the inspiration here is with us tonight, and we get to share this with our audience, Jess. So please tell us about this song and how it came to be, what it means to you, and why you included it here tonight.
Well, I'll start with why I included it. If the love of your life writes you a song, you put it on your celebration playlist. I think that's got to be on there. My husband is a musician, and we've written songs together over the years, and I was always joking about he hadn't written a song for me. And then in his latest project, The Trash Cats, which he's been in a long time now, they're a duo. And he and Matt wrote this song, which is about Sean and I meeting and my early years of activism. And then us becoming, like, living together and becoming a couple. That's what the song's about. And I think one of the nicest things like that has ever been said about me is he says one of the lines is, she'll cut you with her wit until you're choking on your pride. And I just think that's beautiful. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't, but I just love that that's how He framed me.
It's like poetry. It's like poetry.
From my lover.
Yeah, exactly, which makes it even hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also love that you said lover like that. So the rule is if your lover writes you a beautiful song that captures who you are, you have to have it at your celebration.
I feel like that should be the rule. If a lover has written you a song, you should, like, if you have a song written about you, shouldn't that be at your funeral? I think so.
I guess it depends what kind of anthem it is.
That's true.
You know,
That is true. Luckily, he said good things, so it makes the list.
Is there anything else you want our audience to know about this track and as it relates to your life?
There are references to Hunter S. Thompson, who was a big literature inspiration for me. There's also, you know, it was about we met during the 2004 election. I registered him to vote. And
That's so cool.
That was kind of the start of our love affair. So yeah, there are references to like George W. Bush being elected and Hunter S. Thompson killing himself a few months after that, in February of 2005. So this is all written right around that like end of 2004, 2005 time.
Well, I'm excited to play it. This is Jessica Marie from the Trash Cats.
Well, I was drinking whiskey by myself in fall 2004 when a bonny lass of just 5 feet came bursting through the door. She strode with purpose to the bar, a clipboard in her hands. Stormy-eyed and frenzied speech, she issued this demand. She said, we need a revolution, or the old king's son will win. Working poor will suffer lest we get our party in. She asked me for my name to add to voter registry. And that's the night when I first met an activist named Jessica Marie. Days they passed and in a flash election day was here. We celebrated hopefulness with whiskey, wine and beer. When the votes were counted and the proclamations made, the revolution lost that day and the old king's son he stayed. She said we need a revolution cause democracy has failed. We play the game the way they want, but now that ship has sailed. I'll fight the power with every single drop of energy. And that's the night I swore I'd never pick a fight with Jessica Marie. Late February came with news that Dr. Gonzo died. Stunned we sat and drank and cursed, and Jessica she cried. Despite reports of suicide she did not want to hear. We stayed up telling stories till we'd finished all the beer. She said the revolution lost an honest man before his time. Don't know if he's your hero, but he's surely one of mine. The stormy eyes are wet with tears as she smiled up at me. And that's the night that I believe I fell in love with Jessica Marie. She's small in stature, she makes up for it with heart. And if you ever cross her, expect to get torn apart. Believe me when I tell you, boy, to stay on her good side. She cut you with a wit until you're choking on your pride. One night when I was going out for whiskey with the guys, we headed for the door and we were met with stormy eyes. She said, be home a decent hour, don't get too drunk again. I said, it's just around at 2, we'll be back home by 10. But around at 2 turned into 5 or 6 or 7 more. Our favorite barkeep gave us the most generous of pours. I stumbled in the door at about 30 after 3. And that's the night when I first felt the fiery wrath of Jessica Marie.
That is the Trash Cats. Singing there is, heck yeah, singing there is Mr. Sean Mahoney, Jess's amazingly talented, kind, wonderful husband.
Good looking. Yeah.
I don't want to just
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
boil down all of his talents to his looks. I mean,
I thought it was worth mentioning.
he's easy on the ears and the eyes. Yeah. That song, you really were registering. Is that true? What happened?
Yeah. So in 2004, I was working for the Young Voters Project, and I was getting paid to go out and just rock the young vote movement. So we would go around and just register, like, to people that young. We'd go to places we knew young people would be, and we would just register them. We would register anybody. It didn't matter the age, but we were trying to get young voters out. And in 2004, Duluth, Minnesota had the highest voter turnout per capita because of our efforts.
Really?
That is true.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I would just go out. We would find out, like, where house parties were.
Yeah.
We would go to bars. We would anywhere we could find college kids, and we would.
Did they
register them.
encourage you to do this? That doesn't sound safe. But I mean, 2004 was 20 years ago. It's a
Yeah,
different time.
this was a different world. We were also going door to door in the hillside. Like, they had.
Yeah.
But we always had partners, and that was a registered drive where, like, 20 people would go out and cover 3 blocks, and we would all be with partners going door to door. So they did have safety precautions in that regard.
Good.
But as far as regular numbers, we would just go out and we would have just these bushels of registration forms. And I would go up and I would go through my spiel and register you. And yeah, I remember once just showed up at a house party in the hillside. Nobody I knew. It was just a ruckus party. And I walked in, just joined this party, and just registered about 200 people to vote.
Oh my gosh.
Just in one night.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
But that is, that's how I met Sean. I had met him once before that through a friend. He had dated a girlfriend of mine, but I only met him in passing one night briefly. He didn't really remember me. And then I showed up to register him to vote, and I gave him my number, and so that he was going to call me so I could register his roommates or whatever. And then
this is clever.
And then he just never stopped calling.
You got that shared house plan now.
Yeah. We own property together.
Yeah, that's...
I took his last name.
You're taking it. You're bringing it along for the ride.
I did.
That's a good last name, though.
Yeah, Mahoney's good.
Oh, it's Mahoney? I've been saying it Mahoney.
That's how I pronounced it once, and my in-laws got really mad because I thought it was cute. I was like, Mahoney, and they're like, it's Mahoney. And I was like, she says you.
Mahoney baloney. That's Mahoney. Welcome back to Your Funeral Music. Our guest of the week is Miss Jessica Marie, who we just heard sung about there by her husband, Mr. Sean Mahoney, who will be our guest next week. But this next song comes from REO Speedwagon, and it took 10 years to write. Do you know the song we're chatting about? If you guessed Time for Me to Fly, well, you'd be correct. You are a winner. Congratulations. This song, released in 1978 as the second single from the album You Can Tune a Piano, But You Can't Tune a Fish. Time for Me to Fly originally reached number 56 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, originally, Jess, this song, it was not on your list. What prompted this change real fast?
Okay, I had always wanted it on the list.
Oh,
and
you did?
I
Okay.
just
An oversight.
completely.
Due to
yeah.
a thing I need to fix
It was
on my
one that
website.
I was so sure I was going to put on that I literally forgot to put it on because it was, in my mind, it was already on the list.
Right. Of course.
I
Time
was,
for Me to Fly.
Yeah.
What is this? It sounded like you were just about to tell us.
Yeah, I was.
But I couldn't hear over the crumpling paper.
You shut your mouth.
Sorry. I'll be quiet.
I was conceived at an REO Speedwagon concert.
That is that sentence is it really? It's like you could hear a record drop. All of a sudden, conception. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go back.
I'm not saying anyone should know this information, but if you know it, you should share it. I was conceived at a Speedwagon concert in the 80s. REO Speedwagon is from my area of Illinois. They're from the northern area of Illinois, and they were really big. And my mom and my biological dad went to an outdoor Speedwagon concert and conceived me.
Did they go into detail about the location at the concert? Was this like some sort of booth they were behind, or a lavatory, or a bus, or
It was like an
on stage?
outdoor, like open campground pavilion type thing, like festival type setting,
Free love.
if you will. Yeah. They were on the lawn. How protected or from other view, I don't know that information. I just know that that's where I was conceived, and that this song in particular, Time for Me to Fly, I would listen to a lot when I was little. Because 80s, like rock music, this type of 80s rock, like Journey, Speedwagon, Boston was huge in my house. Like that was my mom's and dad's just like love. The REO Speedwagon greatest hits I had on cassette, and I would fall asleep to it every night when I was like 11. It was my jam. And this song, I can remember being in my parents' station wagon, laying in the back, driving to my grandparents' house and seeing the willow trees passing, just listening for Time for Me to Fly.
This is Your Funeral Music, where we're listening to the jams you won't get to hear with our guest of the week, Jess. Yeah, welcome, Jess. It's so nice to have you here.
Thanks.
Now, our next song, it's the second Frank Turner tune that we're hearing tonight, and this is off his 2011 album, England Keep My Bones. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with this song, Jess. We heard a little bit about you and Frank.
Yes,
Let's hear about...
I love Frank. I love this song in particular because it's about acknowledging that, you know, if it's about acknowledging your friends and how much they mean to you. And it's also about just letting go of the things that, like, if ever I stray from the path I follow, take me down to the English Channel and throw me in where the water's shallow. Like, get me out of myself, friends. I need you to hold me accountable when I'm being an idiot, when I'm not being true to myself.
So that lyric that he says, I think this is the one you're referring to, but if you've got my back, I'll go on. If
Yeah.
you've got my back, I'll go on.
Yeah. Like, and he also talks about how all you need in life is, you know, as long as he's got food to eat, clothes on his back, a roof over his head, like, he's good. Like, as long as you have the base things, you can just enjoy everything else, you know? And I think it's beautiful. Yeah, it's just saying sometimes our loved ones get the worst of us because we know that they can take it. You know, when I'm at my very worst and I share that with my friends, you know, it's good to know that they're not going to pull away from you. They're there. And that's what this song is about. It's about when everything in the world could go to crap and you still have your friends. And no matter what, if I get too full of myself, you can just throw me in the water and I can wash it off and have another try tomorrow.
This sounds oddly like the Christian tradition of baptism.
A little bit.
Is
Yeah. I know.
just
Coming from Frank and I, and having just come off of Glory Hallelujah, I can see how
this is
it's a little.
Has anyone ever told you that you are a paradox?
Yes.
You're a paradox,
A
aren't
little
you?
bit. I have been told that.
Let's give this not baptism song a listen. Sorry, I shouldn't be. We should. It's difficult to know the tone to have in this program because we've known each other for so long, and
I know. Yeah. This is probably not the regular tone of your, and that's okay. That's okay. We've always done our own special thing. So
this is. No, you go.
I was gonna say, I really think that people are gonna enjoy this one if it's something they've never heard before.
Our guest of the week is Jess. We are coming to you from Duluth, Minnesota. Shows on the road this week, and capturing some of the songs and selections from Jess's life that we're looking back on with fond memories and doing this so when not if, but when the day comes, we're comforted by her voice and the memories that are so dear to her in her life. So thanks for joining us this week, Jess, and you, dear listeners. Now, this next song, it comes off Jack Johnson's In Between Dreams, his third studio album released in March 2005. The song is Banana Pancakes, and if memory serves me correctly, Jess, there is a very special meaning for you and your husband. Will you please share more about that?
Yes, Banana Pancakes is our song. Jack Johnson's In Between Dreams, I believe is the name of the album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came out.
Did I say that right?
I think so.
Were you listening? We'll have to back it up.
It was really big at the time. And
Oh, yeah.
And we had the CD, and it was in, he had one of those old alarm clock CD player things, you know.
Is this the one that was in the bathroom?
Yeah, for years. And
Yes.
that's the CD that was in it, was Banana Pancakes.
Like you couldn't get it out or something?
No,
No, you
like
just
we
loved
could.
it. It lived in there.
It just lived in there.
Yeah.
And in the mornings, this is a song that would play. And it was so sweet because those were the only times that we had together because we were on such different schedules when
Yeah.
we first lived together. Like he worked mornings and I worked afternoons into the evenings. So like that early morning time was really the only time that we saw each other in those first couple of years. So a song about wishing that you could just sleep in and make banana pancakes with somebody is the thing. Yeah. That's the sweet spot.
So then not only is the song full of memories for you and Sean in those mornings, those early informative years of your relationship where you were working opposite schedules and could only see each other then, is there kind of a deeper message there for people to take away that embrace those times together or
Absolutely.
sleeping in?
Yeah, taking those moments, just having those traditions together, those little morning rituals or whatever it is, listening to your song in the morning, or maybe you always have coffee together. Whatever it is, that was our thing, was we would listen to the CD in bed together and then get up and start our day.
Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day. Start our day.
Jess and Sean's song in the mornings together, special song. What a happy thought to have, maybe during a sad time as people are missing you, to think of such, a cozy food as banana pancakes and all the happy memories that this song has given you.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, friends. We are moving closer to the end of our evening together with just it's this, when you introduce yourself as just Jess, it always confuses me. I don't know if I'm supposed to say the just part, and then the T trips me, and
I know, it's just fun to say.
Not for you. Or for you, maybe. Not for me. Other people, maybe. I don't know about them. I'll keep working on it. Thanks for your patience with me and my pronunciation of how you want to be addressed. Jess.
Jess is fine.
Now it's fine. Okay. At nearly 100 years old, this next song, it was written by Cole Porter in 1928 and is covered tonight by 90s darling and Grammy Award winner Alanis Morissette. The song we're talking about here is Let's Do It, Let's Fall in Love. Help us understand the reasoning behind this.
I knew I wanted an Alanis song on here because,
She was my first
when
female album.
When Jagged Little Pill came out in 96, at 12 years old, like an angry brunette spoke to me so much. Not to say that.
Well, I've met your mom.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna let her listen to this. You'll be getting a call. My mom is delightful.
I love your mom.
Yeah, Denise is a good lady. But no, I knew I wanted something by Alanis. But I didn't want to put anything from Jagged Little Pill.
My mom's a brunette too, for the record. I just,
An angry little brunette, just like the rest of us.
My partner's a brunette. You're a brunette.
Yeah,
I'm a
You're a brunette.
dirty brunette.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Alanis, you wanted her, you knew her. She came out in 96 and you were like, this is my jam.
She's
is
my
her.
lady. And I've the person I've seen the second most frequently, second only to Frank, is Alanis.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen her live.
Yeah, I've seen her 3 times. It's going to be 4 this summer because I've got...
Oh, she's playing in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. And while this is not on Jagged Little Pill...
No, it is not. It is not. I have no idea why this is here. My brain is so confounded with her. First of all, her singing this song.
Yeah. This came out... She had an album in the aughts sometime where she put this on it. Just as a little fun end of the album aside, and I just loved it so much, and so much of my message in life is about love, and this is just a fun song.
So this is just a fun...
It's a fun song by a lady that I love and admire, about a lady that I hope my family loves and admires. That'd be me. But yeah, let's do it. Let's fall in love. Just the concept that even fleas fall in love. Why can't we? Come on, it's a great song.
Again, Jess, a paradox. You're a paradox. Welcome back to Your Funeral Music, where we're listening to the jams you won't get to hear because, well, that's the way she goes. That's what I've heard, Rick. That's the way she goes. Now, our guest of the week is my long-time friend, Jess. Thank you for being here, Jess. I appreciate you putting this list of songs together for us. And this is actually the end of our evening together. We've reached the end of our evening. And It's been a journey.
Yeah, and this last song is special to me for several reasons.
So we're closing then the night with the song, a big song for you.
Yeah.
What speaks to you about this?
So this is James Darren. There's no such thing as the next best thing to love. But it's just there's no such thing. When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time with my grandmothers, and we would watch like old-fashioned 60s beach movies. Like that was our big thing, like Frankie and Annette and the Gidget movies. I was obsessed with Gidget. Not Sally Field Gidget.
Which I don't understand because that is my celebrity crush, for the record.
And that's fair. I do enjoy the television show Gidget. I did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking Sandra D. Gidget, the OG.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. I shouldn't. It's hard for me
So
to...
anyway, James Darren in the show sings the song Gidget. And to me, like, the whole girl midget thing, I'm only 5'2", and when I was young, I was obviously much shorter than that. 5'2" is my tall height, you know? That's what I grew to. So it was always so special to me. And then when Sean and I decided to get married, we took swing dancing lessons and learned to swing dance together. It was really sweet because I had like a 50s style dress and, you know.
Yeah, it was very kind of... is poofy the right word, or had a poof,
it
or
had
a
a big,
frill,
it had
or...
a full tulle skirt.
Is that called a chantilly lace, or...
Oh, tulle. That's tulle.
Oh.
Yeah, no, there is no lace. I can't wear lace. I'm allergic.
Oh.
Makes my skin break out. I don't know why.
I had no idea. No doilies for you, young
That's
lady.
Right. Well, I can have them. I just can't lean on them.
Yeah,
or
don't wear any
that.
doilies. Yeah. I found her wearing the doilies again.
Why does she have a rash? Sorry.
She's allergic to lace.
No, so we decided, so from the second Gidget movie, Gidget Goes Hawaiian, there's a song, There's No Such Thing. And the premise is there's no such thing as the next best thing to love. So this is the song that we danced to at our wedding. We learned to swing dance to this song. But it reminds me of growing up with my grandmothers and the start of my obsession with the music and fashion of the 1950s, which is still very important to me. I've always been an old soul with a new point of view. So, you know, ending with James Darren from Gidget seems very fitting.
That's beautiful, Jess. Thank you for sharing about this, your family, your grandmother watching this movie, Gidget. I haven't seen it because Sally Field is not in it, but
that's fair.
I'll take it from you. It sounds like it's good.
But it's a good. It's nice to know where the character came from. So maybe you could watch it just for backstory on your Sally's character.
It's not about me, so.
Not this episode.
So this song, you're letting everyone in your life know who cherishes you and who you cherish, that to you, there's nothing better than love.
That is correct.
That's the sweet stuff.
That's all I want. Just give me that and I'm good.
So happy to have you along here at the end of our night, the end of our ride together here on Your Funeral Music with our guest of the week, Jess.
That's me.
How has this experience been for you now? You've reached the end of the night. We've listened to the songs. We've had our conversations. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I'm glad that I ended with James Darren because it's such a fun way, well, for lack of a better word, but a fun way to go out, if you will.
That makes sense.
With a little swing in it, a little swing in your step.
And it speaks to you, and that's the most important thing. Do you have any message that you want people listening in the community who may be considering doing something like this about this process and sitting together?
Just that I think it's a good experience. I think it's something that more people should think about as their wishes for the end, and anything you can do to make it easier for your loved ones when you do go. So to have this knowledge out there, It's also nice just to be able to sit down with a friend and talk about good music in my life, and the message that you hope that sends, what it says about me, what I hope it says about me. Yeah, this was good. I had fun.
You had fun.
I had fun talking about the end. How about that?
Special thanks to our guest of the week, Jess. To be a guest on Your Funeral Music, or to learn more about the program, visit us online at yourfuneralmusic.com. Join us next week when we'll have a new guest and a new playlist reflecting on what it means to be alive and how we want to be remembered after we're gone.